Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some or a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up discussion today. We have Bitcoin down to 103K as MSTR, mNAV declines to less than 1. That is quite concerning. We will discuss that in detail in a little bit. Legendary will break that down. We've got Cypherpunk Technology seeking to purchase 5% of Zcash, backed by the Winklevoss twins. We'll explain what that's all about. And we've got Hyperliquid's HLP losing $4.9 million in one moment as an attacker pumps Popcat. with roughly $20 million of buy orders. What a strange headline that might sound to someone. And we've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual, plus a general conversation to have on the general market. I've got Legendary in the co-host seat with me today. We're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. The market is, of course, very, very risky. We do not know anything for sure, so please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Thursday. It is the 13th of November. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, I am quite pleased with myself today because I got access to the handles marketplace. Now everyone with Premium Plus gets it. Not only people who had Premium Plus versus the business accounts affiliation, aka someone with a golden check mark that gave them an affiliate badge. And I was able to pick up a nice handle, the legendary underscore gains, whatever thingy, and all the other previous scope versions of legendary Web3, legendary NFT are gone. And now I'm very, very clean. I am legendary with just a second Y at the end, because obviously a lot of people have been asking, is the legendary with just one Y handle too expensive? And it is the movie studio. Legendary Pictures has the legendary handle. It's a billion-dollar company. They did Dune, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, great, great movies. So I am, I'm not too mad about that. They obviously do deserve that handle. They're active. So I'm very, very happy with my extra Y and the way, way cleaner handle than before.
Go get it, man. Go get that next handle. What's stopping you?
Being at $1 billion valuation and more relevant than one of the most relevant movie studios in the world, I would say. But on the plus side, I'm now matching once more with Oxy. Not only do Oxy and I have a similar profile picture, we also go for the double Y at the end now.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I mean, there can't be any more changes now, right? Apart from upgrading to the actual legendary handle. Like there can be no more. You're as close as you can get.
Yeah, exactly. I'm one letter off basically. But it's interesting that they did that from a business perspective. That they're like, okay, you
didn't
only
have to pay.
not for that one, no. You only get to keep it as long as you're like a premium subscriber. So they give you an extra incentive.
Okay, so you're kind of you're not really paying for it, but it's part of the subscription,
Yes.
maybe.
And there's also a tier where you pay for that, and then you get to keep it even if you basically downgrade your subscription. And then there's like an a merit based, more complex one that you actually have to be manually reviewed and assigned to, say, something like the science handle, or more generalistic terms. Then they're actually going by, what's your track record on the platform? Do you deserve that other people out there who would be more deserving of that, and you can't like pay to win that one? So there's still different tiers in that, but I find it interesting that they went for monetizing that aspect as well.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I thought it should just all be a marketplace, but you'd get the incredible annoying set of behavior where people buy other people's and then you have to buy them off someone. And then I actually thought about it a bit more and I thought this is not actually a huge marketplace, I don't think, because once you get one, you're not constantly looking to buy other people's or whatever. Like you kind of just become your identity, or I don't know. I kind of once I've got my handle, or maybe if I can get rid of the one, then I'm not going to change again. But if someone else bought my handle before me and then tried to charge me too much for it, I'll just say, screw you, I'm not going to pay. So then that kind of kills the marketplace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's not possible. Like I couldn't buy a handle and sell it to you, right? The only entity who can sell handles to you is X itself. There's no like peer-to-peer transactions.
So that's what I mean. I was thinking in terms of maybe this should be like a peer-to-peer marketplace. And then I thought, nah, I think it'd be dead. But maybe they can just monetize it and sell you the handle direct, you know?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
There's like where you can buy the handles, which I think is smart. And maybe, some people will go out there and create new accounts, set up a business, or set up a Premium Plus subscription to buy certain domains, and then still try to sell the account with the domain tied to it. So there might
Yeah,
be
maybe.
some sort of gray market that is gonna emerge for that. But I also see Funky with his hand up, so curious to Hear your take on our handle discussion, Funky. Welcome to the stage.
Love it. Congrats for getting the proper legendary handle. I applied for just Funky, and I still haven't heard anything. And they said it was a high demand handle. Literally, the person who has Funky handle has not tweeted since like 2010, and I don't get it. And they even said you'd be expedited if you have an affiliate badge, which I do because of Global Stake. So I have like a premium. We have a premium business account. I have the little affiliate badge. Not waiting to get Funky. I mean, I'm always gonna be Funky.
Did you go Funky with H or Funky with an F?
No, the PH. No, who wants F? This PH.
So PH Funky is still in so high demand that they keep you waiting?
That's what they said. Rare handle. I don't buy it. I think that
it's a cool word. It's a cool word. I think you can spell it however many which ways you want. If you want to be funky, it's going to be in demand. I think you could spell it with an F. You can spell it with a PH. You could spell it in any which way. So, fingers crossed for you, Funky. Fingers crossed. Look, let's get into the news today to get you up to speed with everything that you are looking to find out. We've got a lot of interesting headlines to talk, but as usual, let's get to the price action first. Looking at the majors first, Bitcoin's down a couple of percent, just dipped beneath 103K to 102.9 at the moment. ETH is down 1% as well to just under 3.5K. BNB is flat around $966. Sol is down 3% to 156. Hyperliquid is down 3% as well to $39, and Sui is down a couple of percent back to $2, flirting with going beneath $2 as well. So getting into the meme coin side of things, we've got Doge flat around 17 cents. Pepe's down 1%. Trump is down a couple of percent. Bonk's down 4%. Pengu's down 5%. SPX down 6%. Some of this stuff's really getting hit quite hard on the meme coin side. Tibber, which was up a lot, was actually up 10% on the week, but is down 13% today. Farcoin's down 7%, back to 28 cents as well. Useless Coin is down 7%. And just one other point, Pump Fun down 13% on the day, back beneath the ICO price of 4 bill at around 3.8 bill FDV. So far, you could have quite happily traded in between. As soon as it goes under, you then buy it, then goes above, and then you could short it and it would go under again. I don't know 100%. The revenue is still looking quite good, but very volatile in that region. Getting into the headlines themselves that we're going to be talking about, we've got Bitcoin down to 102K as the MSTR mNAV declines to less than 1. We'll be talking MicroStrategy today and what the significance of declining beneath 1 might be. Glad to have Funky with us to discuss that as well. Cypherpunk Technologies seek to purchase 5% of the Zcash supply as a hedge to Bitcoin. It's backed by the Winklevoss twins, who have already bought $50 million worth. And Hyperliquid's HLP losses. Hyperliquid's HLP loses $4.9 million as attacker pumps Popcat with roughly $20 million of buy orders. We'll just explain briefly what happened there and if there's anything to be concerned about. Some notable price action. Aero's down 20% to under $1. Zcash up 3% to 494. Super volatile still as the privacy narrative continues. We'll touch on that in more detail today. Hype's down 4% to $38. Zora on the base side is up 20% back to 6 cents. Some notable sales. You can see this Autoglyph sold for 56 ETH. Had a CryptoPunk VR selling for 35 ETH. Dimitri Cherniak Ring is selling for 8 ETH. On the collection side, Moonbird's down a couple of percent to $1.9 ETH. Pudgy Penguins are at 5.8. Bored Apes actually higher, significantly higher than Penguins, up to 6.4. Infinex patrons up another 11%. We spoke about it yesterday as an article was published explaining the route to TGE and the various ways you can get exposure to that token. 100% of tokens are going to NFT holders. So I did say you had to read the article yesterday. I think a lot of people hadn't read the article. Maybe some more people have read today. You still want to check the valuation, see if you're comfortable with it. But I think that is probably behind why that recent move yesterday and today back to back. Getting into the rest of the roundup to get you up to speed, we've got Aerodrome and Velodrome announcing a merger, which ends up proving to be a sell the news event. As I said, Aero was down 20% and Velo was also down 20%. Japan Exchange Group considers more careful oversight over publicly traded DATs with mounting concerns over losses. I feel like that will not be the first time we hear of news of that nature. ETH staking protocol Lido proposes enshrined buybacks, $4 million a year, capped at $10 million per year if all conditions are met. Buybacks continuing to be something companies are trying to prioritize if they are successful enough. Seismic raises $10 million from A16Z to build an encrypted blockchain focused on privacy. Privacy being one of the biggest narratives of the moment, certainly captured a lot of people's attention and imagination at the moment. Polymarket revealed as Yahoo Finance exclusive prediction market partner. That's interesting to note. CME Group and Fan Duel to launch a US prediction market next month. I feel like we'll have more people trying to build in prediction markets to their platforms. ARK Invest buys $30 million worth of Circle stock as Circle continues its decline. It's now at $86. Remember, that was up above 200 at one point. Sui to launch USD Sui stablecoin made possible by Bridge's open issuance. Remember, Bridge being a Stripe company. Canary Funds files for a MOG ETF, which is, as I continue my rules, I have to sell something. I have to sell some crypto today. Sorry, guys. I see a MOG ETF. I need to sell something. Fancy Top reveals there'll be no TG yet as they struggle through the model for its economy. I think a lot of farmers and a lot of participants had been hoping there'd be some token generation event coming, but they said they have not worked out the economy yet, so they will not do that. And finally, CZ to debate Peter Schiff on Bitcoin versus tokenized gold at Binance Blockchain Week. Oh, and then the final news, Legion announces its next sale, Machina, going live on November the 25th. I've allocated a decent amount to that in season 0, and hopefully we'll get some allocation there. So that is the roundup to get you up to speed with everything that you need to know today. Legendary, before we get into the main headlines, quite an interesting variety of bits of news here. What's catching your attention?
A lot of things are catching my attention, but the one that I want to speak to is the CME Group news. CME Group and Fan Duel to launch a US prediction market together. Getting some stats on Fan Duel on the screen, because I feel like many people are completely underestimating or not aware of how big Fan Duel actually is. They did 5.8 billion in revenue in 2024, which marked a 20% increase on the previous year. They did $50 billion of wagered volume on Fan Duel in 2024. $50 billion. It is a crazy, crazy amount. And that is coming off 4.5 million users. So the users in itself get a very, very nice average of a bit more than $1,000 per year in volume. So they do create quite some revenue, and even in growth of the company. If you go back to 2019, where they did 0.5 billion in revenue, then COVID hit. COVID was obviously the big catalyst for all things online gambling, sports betting. And they did go to 0.9 to 3 bill in 2022, and now sitting, as I said, at 5.8 bill, and especially tied together with a partnership with the CME Group. Very, very curious to see how much market share they will be able to gather, how they will stack up against Polymarket, and how many of their own users, of FanDuel's users, that is, will be interesting to explore the prediction market side of things. Because ultimately FanDuel does fantasy sports and sportsbook. So it is quite a similar category, I would say. It's way closer than like the conversion from a slot player or a baccarat player to doing prediction markets. So I am very interested to see these numbers after a couple of months.
Very interesting. Interesting. We can take the share screen off now, Cash, by the way. We can, because I think we're going to move topic here. So, Ledge, do you think, my instinct, this is what it reminds me of when we talk about more established people trying to integrate the latest new thing. It reminds me, and I give this example a bunch, so if you're a long-time listener, you'll know it. It reminds me of when Coinbase said they were going to do the NFT marketplace. And for some reason, my instinct on this is actually not what my instinct was at the time back then, but it's because I've learned. My instinct with this is that if anyone else tries to integrate the prediction market, it's not going to work because the native thing is such a net new, interesting, good new thing that it's actually already gone too far. Like Kalshi and Polymarket have permeated consciousness so deeply, maybe especially Polymarket at this point with the way it's been integrated in news and its significance during the election cycle, that it's hard for me to consider other people just trying to integrate and thinking it will be okay. What do you think about that? Is that fair? Is that not fair? Or ultimately, are all of these things trending towards super apps where even Polymarket will start with prediction market data and then end up offering you crypto trading as well, or something else as well? Like, what's your view there?
I mean, they kind of do, right? Polymarket integrated sports betting in the form of prediction markets.
Well,
Being able
sports predictions.
by being able to bet where crypto prices are going, you're betting on crypto essentially in a different way. I agree with you, and I like the Coinbase example. If I were to play devil's advocate, then I would say the fact that it's FanDuel partnering up with CME. CME is a company obviously operating derivatives exchanges, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and others. That is where kind of my brain is a bit blown to confused, because you have like a very renowned exchange who is now partnering up with FanDuel, with fantasy sports plus sportsbook. And as part of the offering, what they will do sports contracts, obviously benchmarks related to the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, prices of oil and gas, gold, cryptocurrencies, and key economic indicators such as CPI and GDP. So it is, yeah, you have a bit more of a degen company, I would argue, than you have this respected exchange. And they are partnering up, they are launching this prediction market. And basically, what is CME going to say now? So if you want to bet on cryptocurrencies, you can do that with our partner FanDuel Predict, and send you to a sports book to do that from an exchange's standpoint. Like, it's not a partnership that I could have even pictured that something like that would exist if you asked me like 3 years ago. Like, take that to the next level. Imagine like that the London Stock Exchange, and I know that the Mercantile Exchange and the like stock exchange is not the same. The London Stock Exchange has a sportsbook partner. Like, yo, do you want to bet on something else than our boring English companies? You can bet on the Premier League with our partner sportsbook, and here you go. It's an interesting world to live in, right?
Yeah, it is. The betting is gambling is eating everything. Or yeah, the ability to place a wager on anything is eating everything. So something to keep an eye on, I guess. At a minimum, I guess my original point is that these original prediction markets, I think, are looking pretty good here still. And I don't know if if other people will as easily be able to integrate it into their business and just expect people to get it right away. So interesting conversation there. The thing that I want to talk about before we get into the main stuff is this news. Well, I'm trying to think, because we're going to talk ETFs after, so I'm going to leave part of this out. There's a couple of things that I find interesting. I think probably want to touch on the MOG ETF because I alluded to it in my roundup. I think I might have to sacrifice some more core crypto here, Legendary. One of my rules that I said in the summer when I first started to see some nonsensical things happening, one being a Doge ETF, all kinds of other, what were the other nonsensical things in the summer? We had Doge ETFs, we had all kinds of ETFs, we had meme coins going kind of crazy. There was a lot of mania in the summer actually as well, as there was a bit of an alt season. And my rule is, as soon as when you see like dumb stuff happening, just sell something. And in the summer, I had a very, very, for me, a large hype position. I was like, I'm just, I still like hype. I think it's an awesome protocol, but I just need to sell some because there's just nonsensical things that are happening. And I can't remember what else I was holding, maybe some alts. So I just start selling more of those. My position is always never to try to time the top. You just keep selling basically for things which you think are a decent price. And when you see more nonsensical things happen, and for me, the Doge ETF in the summer was one that I thought was pretty silly. And now again, Canary Funds filing for a MOG ETF, I think is also pretty silly. So I'm going to sell something, and it just depends. I don't know how much. I don't have many non-core things left, to be honest, because I cleared it out as part of that original process. I think I still have some alts. Do I get rid of them now as they're already quite beaten up? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. But I might sacrifice something bigger. Might sacrifice something bigger. Ledge, what do you think of the strategy and the timing of this reaction that I'm having?
I like the thinking. I think we initially said we wanted to lock in profits going into the end of the year either way. And now that we also have not only the things that you're saying around the ETF action, but the first main headline, which we're going to get to in a couple of minutes, right? Strategy and the mNAV going under one, might be a good time to lock in some more profits in the market and maybe sit out some of that volatility which we are experiencing at the moment. But I'm
I
not
mean,
against.
obviously, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I think one of the strategic things to be clear on is this is not the first time I'm looking at the whole market being like, right, I've seen something stupid. We need to take something off. This is like the tail end of that. This has been an ongoing process all through the summer, which we spoke about openly on the show. It's like, let's take chips off in general. I think that was the correct move to be de-risking into what was a little bit of a mania and higher prices. I guess the question now is, okay, now that we're in a bit more of a lull, and some of those prices, at least on alts, have collapsed. Do you still need to sell if you see something stupid? Or and my instinct in general, I think when I was justifying it back in the time in the summer, is that I've just never regretted it. I've never regretted taking stuff off the table when you're up. Like it's just never happened. And frankly, even when you take something off when you lose, I also don't regret it. We've spoken about my Hypercat trade, which was in at, I don't know, 75K, out at 65. And I'm super happy with that trade. Like super happy. Obviously, it was a bad one for me to enter into, but sometimes you can take a loss and still think that was a good, excellent decision because of the way that you protect yourself. And I feel like
How much did you pay for that again? 70?
70 something. Yeah.
Yeah, they're down to 700 something hype. That's 29K. So you would be down 40K if you were still a holder of that.
Ooh,
That is exactly
okay.
such an important skill. Like that is a skill that not many people have, to be willingly cutting your losses and not sitting on them and be like, it might come back. All it needs is one more run. I'm only 10% off to be in profit again. Like if your hypothesis changes or you just recognize that, why did I buy this? I made a ton of money. I bought it. I don't really have too much conviction in it. Let me flip it the next day and sell it for a 10K loss, a 5K loss, whatever. Then this is a very, very strong thing to do. And, obviously there's like still reasons to be bullish on them and do the math. What airdrop multipliers, etc., might I get from that? But that is very individual. And that depends on everyone's like Hyperliquid portfolio and activity on there. You probably did some of the math on that and some of the expectations. You were like, nah, actually that was not a smart buy and I'd rather have my money back. And taking that loss and being willing to incur that loss is a very, very strong thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, interestingly, just to talk through the psychology of it, because I don't know, people might find it interesting, but if they similarly find that a hard thing to do, I actually didn't do any of the maths. I just instinctively felt that this was the wrong move. I looked at Kinetic and I thought, okay, maybe, even if you got a little bit out of this, can you justify this price at the moment? It was very, very hard to justify. And as you said, the psychology of it when you've just made a bunch of money is tempting. But yeah, you have to get out of those things. You have to think. I remember the specific, as you almost described, the thing that you want to happen is not necessarily the thing that is most probabilistically likely to happen. And this is the thing I see all the time in the market in general. Even when people are writing threads, tweeting, talking, they're often describing and writing the thing that they would like to happen. And sure, I would have liked for this cat to double or go up to 100K really, really fast. And, you know, at the time, Jeff was talking in Singapore. That Hyperliquid event happened for the first time. These hypercats had a really prominent position there. And I guess on some level, you can think, you know, there's this really bullish argument here, like the Hyperliquid airdrop's coming up. And who knows, maybe that Hyperliquid airdrop is still going to be great. And this could end up being a bad trade for me at some point. But in the short to medium term, I think it was the right thing to do. So interesting reflections there. Hopefully that is helpful to you. And I think based on this conversation, I'm going to do what I'm pretty consistent. I'm going to do what I say I always do. I'm going to sell stuff when I see silly things happen. A MOG ETF is a silly thing. And so I'm going to sell something. I'm going to sacrifice something later today.
I have one more question to ask you, though.
Go on.
And I wanted to ask you in a while. So you still have the Hypercat as your PFP?
Yeah, I just can't. I haven't been bothered to change it. I need to.
What's your next PFP going to be? Do you going to go back to the Pudgy or anything else in mind?
Yeah, I'll go back to the Penguin. I think I'll go back to the Penguin. Yeah. I don't have anything else at the moment. Well, I probably have a few other cool things, but I'll go back to the Penguin. And well, actually, I don't know. Maybe I'll have a little look around for something else. The annoying thing, the thing that pains me about the cat is that people are going to think because I get rid of it now that I've capitulated now, and so like I'm selling the bottom was when really I've sold it. I capitulated at the top after buying it also at the top, so people won't know that.
You have to keep the PFP until you're up in profit until the cat is something again.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Okay. Look, we're going to get into the headlines in just a moment. We've got some important stuff to discuss. As a reminder, we're going to be talking MicroStrategy today, which I think is going to be a very interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to Legendary's breakdown there because it's gone beneath its mNAV, concerning quite a lot of Bitcoin holders. We've got Cypherpunk Tech purchasing 5% of the Zcash supply, so we'll talk privacy a little bit, and Hyperliquid lost 4.9 mil. But before we get there today, just want to shout out Beezie, our partners for today's show. The on-chain claw machine, innovating how collectors chase their next grail. Beezie lets you pull everything from PSA graded Charizards to Labubu figures, Travis Scott Jordans, and sealed products, all securely vaulted with Brinks, tokenized on chain, and shipped worldwide. Whether you're after rare Pokemon slabs or battling your way up the leaderboard to farm an airdrop through pulls, swaps, and trades, Beezie makes collecting on-chain fun. We will also be giving away $500 worth of claw pulls to someone collecting on Beezie under our affiliate link. Legendary will drop that in the chat in the comments today, and it will be in our various locations. So do sign up, do participate if you would like to be involved in these giveaways. We've got one today. We'll be doing it for the rest of the month, or for November for sure as well. So if you want to participate, that is how you will. And of course, we'll be giving away those $500 later today. So whoever's been participating the last 7 days will be part of that raffle. So stay tuned for that to find out if you have won. Ledge, that is the partner part. As we said, we're curious to hear your thoughts on MicroStrategy and what is going on with Bitcoin, and to what extent we should be concerned here as its mNAV dips beneath 1. What do we need to know? What are we thinking?
Absolutely. So as you said, headline is the strategies mNAV is dipping under 1. However, there's a bit of confusion going on. There's been a bit of commentary on the timeline, because if you go to Strategy's website, they are still reporting their mNAV, so the multiple on the net asset value, at 1.2. The reason being is that there's 2 different ways to look at it. And the calculation which says mNAV is under 1 is basically looking at the market cap, which is the total market value of all basic shares outstanding in relation to the value of the BTC, which they are holding, which Strategy is holding. If you divide those 2 numbers, you arrive at a mNAV multiple of under 1 at 0.9777. What Strategy is doing to calculate the 1.2 mNAV is they're like not looking at the market cap, they're looking at the enterprise value, which adds to all the basic stock, the total notional debt and the total notional pref, and then discounts the most recently reported cash balance. So they have been looking at the enterprise value instead of just purely the market cap, and put that in relation to the BTC NAV, and this is why they are reporting a 1.2 mNAV as opposed to people like Fred Krueger in the timeline who are saying, okay, this is market cap, this is BTC holdings. There's two ways to look at that. And continuing on that discussion, if we look at the entire mNAV chart, which I'm having up on screen, that is basically going from the start of the year to now. It has been on the decline, has been starting the year like a 2.1 mNAV multiple, or the mNAV did go as low as 1.6, recovered from that twice, but basically from the summertime on, it has been on a downslope. And Taiki is making this point on the timeline, saying that the strategy mNAV compression looks eerily similar to the end of last cycle. Is this not a concern for bulls? Generally curious for an optimistic view regarding the state of that, and some people are making the point the points in the comments saying that this is more of a lagging indicator and that this would be the way to look at that. And maybe also extrapolating a bit away from strategy specifically to take a look at this dashboard provided by Blockworks, just to look at some of the other large crypto treasury companies to see how they are doing. And it's not the only one where we see the NAV, also for Bitmain, that is the same, at 12 bill, and the company market cap being at 11.5 bill. So we do see this mNAV compression happening across the board with other companies as well.
So what's your takeaway here, Legendary? What's the trajectory here for MicroStrategy and Bitcoin as a consequence?
I think, given how large strategy is, I'd be highly surprised to see that go significantly under one for the mNAV, because you might make the argument now, okay, it's just a 2% discount. That is too much friction for me to buy that thing. But if it gets to, say, 95 or 90%, there will be a point where like market participants look at this and like, okay, so basically you're telling me this company is valued at 55 bill, but they're holding 10 bill more worth of Bitcoin. I'm buying that because it has to return to the mean. It has to return to one. And it's large enough, it's significant enough in its holding, and it has a long enough history that you trust, basically, that you have this trust to do the trade. If you look at like some sort of, I don't know, MOG treasury company that has, God knows, a ridiculous amount of volatility and is managing 100 mil of MOG, and you have no idea how legit or not legit that business is, you'd probably not like to entertain that trade. You'd be thinking that it's not worth the risk, even if you can purchase some MOG at 15% discount or whatever. But this has the longest history out of all. This has the most premium asset, obviously being Bitcoin. So for that reason, I don't think that it would sustain a large discount to mNAV1 for a longer period of time. Now, the difficult thing to factor in with that, and that's the thing that I'm also curious to hear Funky's thoughts on, who has his hand up, is how all the other products, the Stripes, the Starks, and all the other strategy products that exist are factoring into that as well, because this adds a ton of complexity. But if I just were to look at the stock price and look at market cap versus BTC NAV, my hypothesis would be that it's not going to stay at a significant discount for a long period of time.
Interesting. Okay. Ledge, I've just shared the strategy chart. Maybe if you want to pull that up.
Oh, yeah,
and we see that while we let Funky speak to this. My just instinctive comment as we look at this chart is, this looks terrible. I'm not like a big chartist. I'm not like an astrologist of these types of things, but it looks awful. As you can see, like highs from the summer pushing towards 450 or just over 450. And if you look at it even on a higher time frame, Ledge, like if you go for a year or 5 years, whatever, and maybe 5 years is not relevant, but if if you
I mean,
just look at
5 years
it.
is so nice. 5 years is up 1,100%. But year to date, even with the slow start, we are still down 22%. And the 1 year is down almost 40%. It's down 37%.
Yeah, and I think this is what explains a lot of the general pain in the crypto market. It's expressed in being down year to date. And so, by the way, this is underperforming Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, I believe, is still up year to date, or at least it was. But this is obviously going to be a bit of a lever. So if Bitcoin is going to perform slightly worse if Bitcoin does bad, and then it's going to do better if Bitcoin does well. So, Funky, curious to bring you in here for your thoughts on strategy. You were really excellent explaining to us not so long ago on how sailors maybe deviated from an original plan and let down some maybe some original holders. Be very curious to hear how you feel about strategy dipping beneath one in its mNAV.
First thing I'll say is I think CT is bored when they have nothing better to talk about, right? I think that Legendary put a lot of the points quite eloquently, and I don't see this thing staying below one for very long because of the the underlying asset obviously being worth plenty. And zoom out on the chart, right? I mean, I first bought MicroStrategy in 2020 for $100 some odd. We are up 20x since that time because there's been a 10-for-1 split. So if you really look at the price, whatever that is, add a zero from just 5 years ago, which is tremendous outperformance against the rest of the market, I would assume, across that time. I think that this is much ado about nothing in the end, because when it got to some of those highs in the summer, very openly, people were saying, I'm shorting MicroStrategy. So there's a lot of headwinds that it's going against. There was an expectation that it was going to enter the S&P 500, which it did not. And apparently there's some upcoming decision next month in December where that could be added again. And if it does, that's going to be a lot of buy pressure on it. Do I think it deserves some crazy multiple? Probably not. I'll be honest, right? I think it's crazy when some of these things go 3, 4, 5x mNAV. That just, what is justifying that valuation outside of some of these new financial products that they're offering? And there was one that just launched yesterday, and I can't speak on it because I haven't really dug into the details. But, at the end of the day, I'm still happy to hold. I took profits a long time ago, back in 21, and, I'm just sitting on it and writing covered calls occasionally. So, if we lose some shares or they get called away, oh well, just adds cash to the Roth. So, I mean, in the end, I don't really, I think people fell out of love with it, to go back to what Legendary was saying, when Michael Saylor backtracked very quickly on those promises at the end of Q2, where they said, we are only going to issue shares ATM when it was past a certain point in the mNAV. And then like 3 weeks later, he was saying, maybe we're still just going to issue shares. And that upset a lot of people. And I think that there were some diehard MicroStrategy bulls that sold off their positions because Saylor had backed away from his original promise. And so now he's selling shares at whatever price to continue to acquire Bitcoin or creating these new financial vehicles. I don't have any concerns long term. It is sort of the de facto DAT, or a Bitcoin treasury company, as he now likes to position MicroStrategy. But I just feel like it's part of the broader thing that we're all experiencing right now because of the government shutdown, liquidity being trapped, not coming into markets. It's just all of that. I think it's kind of like a mini contagion that's affecting digital assets right now. But I think, to the point of, look where we are. I mean, Bitcoin seems to be impervious to go below 100K, and people are all super bearish and whatnot. But this could just be building a base for a much stronger position for Bitcoin for the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe this is the bear market bottom if Bitcoin gets to, a 250,000 in an environment where liquidity is flowing, and, if everything goes according to plan in the spring and they replace Powell, and all of a sudden we're just flooding the markets with money in a hot economy, who knows where this goes.
Okay. That is certainly the bullish optimistic case. I appreciate you for providing that, Funky. I'm in a bit of a bearish mode at the moment. So I'll ask you the same question that I asked Niski in the Telegram chat earlier today. He was presenting the idea that, okay, the main positive from this is that you don't have master buying anymore, MSTR buying. Like, you know, that is one of the things that's happened, right? They've slowed down. At one point in time, they just kept hammering the buy button at the highs. I don't think that was helping anyone. As you said, it didn't matter what the mNAV was. They were still just raising, still buying, and they have slowed down. He also said you have OG whales mass selling, and yet we're still above 100K. So that's your point, right? Even in spite of all of this price action, you know, it's still above 100, which is pretty good. My question is, and I don't know if you're concerned about this, Funky, is so you know, if it's an institutional cycle and MSTR isn't buying because they're going to slow down and they're not going to hit the ATM anymore, they're not going to keep raising, then who is buying? Maybe it's countries, as Nisky suggested. Maybe it's you know, just persistent ETF inflows, but you know, without looking at the numbers, there's probably a reasonable argument to suggest that a lot of this buying, or at least some of the high chasing, was tailing MicroStrategy buys or trying to front run them because they just kept hammering it so hard, and you could just ride the wave up with them. So, what's your thought on that?
I love it. I mean, I'm all for distribution. I think if people haven't seen this chart, it's insane the amount of ancient OG whale wallets that have woken up in this last year in 2025 and have just absolutely dumped. You know, we use the word dump. We use that verb a little too loosely, I think, in CT. And I mean, we're talking people who are selling tranches of thousands of Bitcoin at a time. Imagine doing that even 5 years ago in the previous run. The market would not have been able to sustain that level of liquidity coming in. And the fact that there are buyers on the opposite side of that that are willing to take it, we see an increase in small holders, people who have less than one Bitcoin, who are just buying something for the future, for posterity, maybe to pass on to their children, who knows? But like, there's, you know, you want that greater level of decentralization. So I'm, for one, I think, happy to see some of these OG whales wake up, sell 10,000 plus Bitcoin, get $1 billion and sail off into the sunset. Good for them. They had incredible conviction. They held on for many, many years. I'm not going to question whether or not they lack conviction, or they became billionaires with a B. That's like insane, you know, for buying an incredibly speculative asset. They believed when everybody thought this was just the kookiest scheme ever. So I think that to see distribution be spread out, and yes, you will always still have big micro strategies and maybe sovereign governments and everybody else, you know, like we still talk about having an SBR here in the United States. But I think it's good for the long-term health of the network to have the coins spread out among more people, just generally speaking. And I can't know with any certainty who is on the other end of the trade, but clearly there are people there because it seems to not want to go below 100K. And if BlackRock and Fidelity and State Street and all these big ETF issuers are involved and the TradFi boys are here to stay, they do not want to see this asset go down to 50K. They are now in a position where they are telling their clients, you should have some kind of exposure to this asset. And they want to make it, you know, probably smoothing out some of this volatility and everything else. I think that they're going that I believe what's happening is TradFi is setting the new floor for Bitcoin. Do I have any kind of direct evidence I could show you right now? No, other than the fact that it seems to every time it even just slightly dips below 100K, besides Fern out there just longing that thing because he's catching the fallen knife, there's got to be big institutional players, seen or unseen, that are continuing to buy. And that's why I remain bullish.
Yeah,
Always.
I like the point of that. I like the thinking here. And just to add to what you said, Funky, with those giga whales waking up, dumping BTC, as you said, that would not have been possible in the last cycle. That would basically have single-handedly ended the bull market if some of these whales, if a single person would have chosen to like, oh, I'm just going to dump $2 billion worth of BTC, like that would have ended the bull market and created a massive dip. We have 10 minutes left in the show. We have 2 more headlines to get into and the giveaway to do. But I have one quick follow-up question for Oxy, if you are with us. In terms of this methodology, does it make any sense to value the mNAV against the enterprise value instead of just looking at the basic amount of shares outstanding?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I'll have to look into it a little bit more, but I was wondering that same thing as well. It's like I don't know, this whole thing is kind of odd. Like, we don't have any companies that are really like this. So, like, how to value it appropriately is like what like you're suggesting. That's something I want to look into that, actually, because that's a really interesting point. I think that could be a good valuation comparison.
My instinct on that is that you should actually go on the enterprise value, because the amount of Bitcoin that they hold is not the entire value of MicroStrategy. Like, there is a business there. It might not be the main thing that they do anymore, but there is additional value. Therefore, that is the value of the company. To me, based on the way you described it earlier, Ledge, if there's, you've got the Bitcoin value that they hold, and then there's additional value in the company, and that is when you're buying a share in MicroStrategy, not just by, you may be making a personal decision that you're buying it because they are this Bitcoin company, but when you're buying a share, it's in MicroStrategy, the company, and that includes some additional value. So for me, that's just how you would look at it. But and then in that way, then sure, it's trading underneath its Bitcoin value, but it's still under the enterprise value. So that's where we are. Right, as you said, 2 headlines more plus the giveaway, Beezie giveaway. You got to stay tuned for. So let's rattle through these other headlines. First one is Winklevoss backed Cypherpunk targets 5% of Zcash supply with $58 million treasury seed. This is the news that the Winklevoss twins have said that they're buying Zcash as a privacy hedge to Bitcoin, part of a comeback narrative for privacy coins in 2025. They've rebranded Leap Therapeutics as Cypherpunk Technologies, and they backed it with $58.9 million aimed at acquiring and holding the privacy-focused crypto Zcash. They've already bought around $50 million worth at $245 per coin. So this was quite some time ago, right? If they're going to be up that much already. And they plan to increase their holdings to around 5% of Zcash's total supply. So I think that's quite bullish, to be honest. I think that's quite bullish for Zcash, given that it's the main hot thing of the moment, and they have all of this buy pressure to come. The thing that we would need to check before knowing if you can front run this in some way is, okay, they said they've already bought 50 mil. How much more is there to buy? What proportion of Zcash's total supply have they bought already? If the intention is to buy up to at least 5%, they say. And when you figure that out, you'll get a good handle on how much more they can pump the price just by this one entity itself. Front running DATs has been probably an excellent strategy throughout this cycle. As soon as you knew about the ETH ones and Tom Lee, it would have been a great trade buying ETH at 2.2K or something as it got lifted up to as high as 4.7. Solana DATs, same thing happened if you front run that all the way up to 250 on Sol. And I suspect, if you just check these numbers to make sure they've still got a ton more to go, it could be the same. So, you've got to do a bit of research here to check the numbers because they're not making it obvious in this article. But that's that. Ledge, unless you have any comments here, well, let's hear one comment and then you can take us into the final headline.
Yeah, stock traded at $2 yesterday. It's down on the pre-market 25%. Very, very little volume, so we'll have to see what it does today, and report on that back tomorrow. The thing that I liked in the article is that it's one of the articles that finally answered my question: what happens to the original business that, in this case, Leap Therapeutics did? And they did answer that. The rebrand marks a pivot from the former biotech firm, as you said, which will continue its cancer drug research through a wholly owned subsidiary that retains the Leap Therapeutics name. I always wondered what happens to the core business of these companies.
Fair enough. Yeah, it is intriguing. One final comment I'll make on this maybe broader narrative zooming out is that you noticed also that in the snapshot, I included a couple of other important bits of news. Well, one other important bit of news, and there was another thing I saw which I thought was relevant. This chain called Seismic raised $10 million from A16Z to build an encrypted blockchain focused on privacy. And in addition, we've seen Balaji tweeting over the last 24 hours saying the first 8 years of crypto was like to prove that it could exist and that it could be, that just that it made sense that it could exist. The second 8 years of crypto is to prove smart contracts and show that this stuff could be useful in some way. And in his opinion, the next 8 years, and I appreciate he's like kind of compartmentalizing the stuff in the intelligent way he sees fit. But the next 8 years is making it private. So this is one of the smartest participants, investors, thinkers perspective. I certainly have not done the required amount of thinking, I don't think, on this area to debate that at the moment, but I'm just noting that there's clearly some movement in terms of capital and thinking going into this whole area, which, I know Zcash always pumps towards the end of a cycle, and it can also be a little bit of that, but maybe there's something underneath that, some substantial element of this move, which maybe is worth doubling down on at some point in time. Ledge, final thought. Otherwise, let's move into the final headline.
Happy to move it into the final headline, which is to do with an attack on Hyperliquid, bit of price manipulation, bit more of price manipulation going on there, in specifically to do with the PopCat token. So what happened is that someone burned through 3 million, that has been reported by Lux on Chain as well as Arkham Intelligence, of their own funds to cause a 4.9 mil loss for the Hyperliquidity provider, for the HLP. So basically, the thinking here is that you pass on, that's the underlying concept, bad debt to the HLP. So how did they do that? They took 3 mil, split it across 19 wallets, deposit all of that into Hyperliquid, and opened 125 mil worth of leveraged PopCat longs. That was the first step to do. Then the next step is place a $20 million buy wall near 21 cents to basically create the illusion of strong demand for the PopCat token, canceling the orders, triggering a liquidity collapse, and basically leading to mass liquidation. Now, obviously, the price was dumping so fast so that the trader got liquidated, but the collateral was worth way less than that, because the price was cascading down so fast, so that ultimately the HLP ended up with a net loss of 4.9 mil. And obviously, because the attacker had liquidated, they lost their $3 million stake as well as a result of that.
And what happened straight after is that Hyperliquid paused. I think they paused deposits and withdrawals for a period of time. I think Unit had a period of time where it was down, just trying to make sure everything was okay. They definitely kind of locked things down for a short amount of time. Everything is back up and running now. I believe everything is operating as usual. Do you have any concerns beyond this, Legendary, when you're using Hyperliquid, when you're using HLP Vault? I still have a little bit of money in the Vault, which I guess has taken a little bit of a loss today. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, it still kind of shows it doesn't take a lot to manipulate this thing if you do it.
Not at all, right? Not at all.
I mean, obviously say that I would never, be willing to lose $3 million just to make a point. But some people apparently are. And that is the risk with, which all of us are taking knowingly or unknowingly when using Hyperliquid, when depositing into the HLP. Am I concerned about this? Probably not too much, because Hyperliquid has the ability to stop and pause withdrawals and deposits. So obviously that is not the most centralized thing, not the most decentralized thing. But we've seen it many times in the past that it was helpful for Blast as well. Completely different attack vector with, I don't remember the collection's name, that got exploited, where everyone was depositing the ETH into to farm Blast points, Blast Gold, whatever. And then they basically managed to halt the bridging of the chain, return the funds to the users. Now, this is a different kind of attack, obviously. So the question would be, could you play this game to such an extent that you wipe out the entire HLP vault? I don't think so, because then you would have to manipulate probably one of the biggest tokens on there, which is going to be extremely, extremely expensive, and I just don't see, I don't know, my tinfoil hat is not big enough to see something like CZ is coming in willing to lose 500 M just to prove a point that Hyperliquid is not working. So I'm not too worried about the HLP as a whole.
Interesting. I mean, if you actually zoom out on that HLP chart, I mean, I know if you zoom in and you look at the loss now, it looks bad because they obviously just lost 5 mil. And bear in mind, HLP, for people who are not familiar, that's just people's funds deposited. People will deposit into the HLP in order to participate in the winnings of Hyperliquid. That's where that money is made. And so it's really users of Hyperliquid who are taking a hit there. And I think, to express just a little bit of more concern, it's not good when your users and depositors lose. They're the people providing liquidity. And as you said, it seems to be quite easy for any malicious actor to, and appreciate they're putting up a lot of money to do that. But it's an expensive game that they're in, and a highly, highly valuable, high stakes game. So I'm a little bit concerned of how easy it is to do that. And but as you say, when you zoom out, you look like net is probably okay. If you start seeing these things happen more often, then yeah, that's a problem. But maybe the barrier of the amount of money you need to do it will ultimately be the barrier. So let's see. We'll keep an eye on it. Ultimately, still pretty bullish on Hyperliquid as a product still, right? So we'll keep an eye there. But let's keep it moving now. As we said, we are coming to the conclusion today. But before we get there, we've got our Beezie giveaway to give away. And Legendary, I believe you've got some pretty cool news as well to share with what our partners at Beezie have been up to. This is a pretty record piece of news here. What do we need to know?
Yes, absolutely. Before we do the giveaway, congrats to Beezie for facilitating a record sale. I'm sharing this on screen. 1999 base set first edition Charizard in PSA 10. There's only very, very few of them in the world. Sold for $300,000. Got acquired by no one other than the legendary collector and friend of mine, DCF God. It is the most expensive TCG collectible ever tokenized. It is secured with Brinks and again brought on chain through Beezie. So congrats to both, to DCF for this insane pickup. Congrats to Beezie for tokenizing it and facilitating the deal. It's definitely a grail card that I would love to have in PSA 10 as well, but it is a touch too expensive. But I think it will play out very well over the next couple of years. With that being said, we also have the giveaway to do. So what we did is we looked at the wagered volume for everyone who signed up under our affiliate link, which I also have posted in the comments to the show, and weighted that wagered volume over the last 7 days. And what we're giving away is $500 in the form of 2 pulls for the $250 Gold Claw, the most expensive Pokemon Claw, where I think the top card that you can pull now is worth 3 to 4 grand. It's a pretend Pikachu in PSA 9. And I got the wheel of names ready. We are ready to spin. I think we're going to do one spin, B, if you're fine with that. And the winner takes both pools, takes the $500.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We got Meg, we got Oxy, we got Jaden. Meg did by far the most volume, and she is taking home the $500. Congrats to that.
Congrats to Meg. $500. So that's two claw pulls, right, Ledge? In the gold claw.
Yes, the most expensive one there is.
The most expensive one. Love it. As usual, Meg. Congratulations. But remember, there is a no sellback clause to Legendary. He is not allowed to purchase your cards at a attractive price. They are for you to enjoy. Ledge, is that a official terms and conditions of the competition, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, she can use Beezie to sell the cards back as well. They offer 90% of FMV of fair market value. Press one button, take the cash if you prefer that over the cards.
Fair enough. I just thought you were quite tempted last time. Well, we had that very specific card last time that you really liked, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Good stuff, guys. Again, shout out to Beezie. Thank you for partnering with us, giving us an opportunity to get some of these cool cards into the hands of our listeners and viewers, as always. And thank you so much for joining us, guys. Just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, live on X Video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple, Spotify, podcasts. If you want to participate in the next Beezie giveaway next week, make sure you sign up from the affiliate links, which Legendary has shared in the right locations in the chat, in the comments. Guys, have a wonderful day. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.